Don't worry, everything will be fine.
I'm prepared for anything, come rain or shine. From the city blackout.
Hello! It's that time again when I talk rubbish at a camera to spend some time with you guys. So, today, NESO. So if you don't know who NESO is, NESO is responsible for the grid infrastructure and predicting the power demands, wants and needs for the United Kingdom. Have said that we're looking to have a rosy winter. Shouldn't be any problems. They've invested in extra battery capacity, which we'll come back to. And yeah, it's a good outlook for the winter period, 2025, 2026. However, there may be some tight days. Is that not a bit of a mixed message? You not think? Now, that doesn't give me a warm, fuzzy feeling of comfort that we're going to have a good winter in terms of energy resources and availability. Because last year, they said that we would have a surplus of energy. Right? We would have so much energy, we might even be exporting it in the UK in the 2024-2025 winter. Fast forward to January, we had a slump in wind levels across Europe, which is important, and in the UK, which meant in January of 2025, so that this year, after predicting a surplus, the grid was in real problems and the frequency dropped, and we were always looking at disconnects. It was very, very close, right? So we dodged the bullet. And the reason it's important with regards to Europe and the wind as well, we are dependent on the interconnectors, which, if you don't know, is a series of very thick cables going from here to Norway, to France, Belgium, different places. And we need that power. We need that power most days to keep the lights on. Now, if they don't have wind, they need to use their own extra resources to try and keep their lights on. So what do you think is going to happen to the power that normally comes across that cable? It's not going to be there. And then those cables that we're dependent on for the extra power to meet our shortfall, which, as I've said, we've got a constant shortfall most of the time. Norway, their own population is fed up. They're fed up with high energy costs because the companies in Norway make more money selling the energy to us, right? We'll pay higher prices than they do. This has got a knock-on effect of increasing the Norwegians' energy costs. And then this year they've had low water levels, high costs, which has resulted in a political shitstorm that the Norwegians want to stop exporting power through the interconnectors and look after their own population first. Can't really fault that. And then other problems in Europe. France, who's got the largest nuclear reactor fleet on the continent, they had problems in 2022, 2023 when they found cracks in a number of reactors and they had to shut them down, causing them domestic problems. Well, unfortunately, this year they've found more cracks in more reactors, which is going to mean more maintenance, more inspections, and more downtime. So, can you see where I'm going with this? The organisation that's responsible for predicting our energy security last year got it wrong. This year they're telling us everything's going to be sunshine and lollipops, but we might have some tight days. What does that even mean? And the other problem that kicked in January this year that became apparent, we pay companies to, like a retainer if you like, to go into care and maintenance and be in standby mode, ready to switch on to provide us power should there be a shortfall. That's great. Well, the problem was, see, when we went to get them to switch on to provide that extra power because we were in the crap, they couldn't do it because the energy price was so high at that time because the market was struggling that they had already switched on off their own volition and we're already exporting to try and capture more of the money. So when you think you've got this amount of headroom to provide generation, and it's already been used up, one, it speaks to a stunning lack of awareness in your own resource management, and two, that's a problem, because you don't have that resource that you thought you had. Me personally, I can only judge it in what I see. And what I see is a creaking infrastructure that is very, very reliant on renewables, that is very, very subject to the whims of nature. And as we've already evidenced this year already, that can work two ways for us and against us. If you've got high winds, you'll get plenty of power through your renewables. But if it gets to such a point that they have to turn them off, you'll actually have less power. So they'll not be able to generate. They'll feather the turbine blades. They'll go off stream. Incidentally, then they'll kick in curtailment payments. So you'll actually have to pay them for switching off, and they're not giving you any power. So then add into the fact that they're stating, but it'll be okay because we've put on extra battery banks. Right. These massive battery banks that they're trying to build, and some already built, it's basically like a big capacitor. It'll take out certain peaks and troughs in the grid. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but there's simply not enough capacity in these things to keep your lights on, right? For any meaningful fashion, for any meaningful time. There's just not enough of them. What it will do is help balance and load balance. So they have got value, especially with a heavy renewables dependence, but we don't have enough of them. And we're spending a lot of money on paper on grid infrastructure projects. And they were predicting 50 billion to 2030 and to meet with demand and different things. Well, a lot of them are already met with legal challenges. And then you're looking at the world as well and taking, there's a lot of things going on, and I don't mean to bounce about. But when you're dependent on interconnectors, and interconnectors from your supplier may be cutting off because they need it domestically there, then every other day we seem to hear about a trawler dragging its anchors, or a tanker in the shadow fleet is dragging their anchors accidentally and damaging cables, infrastructure, data transmission. I don't think it's out with the realms of possibility that we could have a problem this winter. And that's not scaremongering. That's not me trying to put the fear of God into you. I'm just trying to give you an honest, no bullshit appraisal of what I think based on what I see. And I'm trying to evidence it as I go. So what do you do? How does that affect you and yours? Make provision now. Do something about it now. Get a couple of small power banks. The thing's always going about. If you can afford bigger ones, bigger ones. If you can afford generator. If you can afford all the things, then get all the things. Worst case, you spend some money to give yourself security further down the line. If you can't afford that, candles, batteries, rechargeable torches, that sort of stuff. This year alone, there was heavy storms in January. There was over 150,000 people lost power. Just last week in Scotland, we had 62,000 lost power on Friday, and there was 20-odd thousand of them still didn't have a reconnection till Tuesday of this week, right? So the average was 3 days without power. A lot can happen in 3 days, and you could be a lot more comfortable in those 3 days with a couple of preps. So that's all I'm trying to say is point out that there has been problems, and there's going to be more problems, in my humble opinion. And then, fair play to them. So Scottish and Southern had put some, basically roll vans, into some towns and villages who were deprived of power to give the chance of the population a hot meal. That's great if you know about it. But see, when your mobile phone's flat because you've had it on or using it as a torch and different things, Loch Oilhead, for example, I was on their Facebook page and looking in different things, and I was trying to offer advice and opinions. They had put a roll van in the village. Half the village didn't know it was there, so they didn't get any of the hot food. And it was only when some of them were made aware that kindly neighbours were knocking on doors that they became aware. This was like 2 days down the line that they'd missed out on hot food. So That's great if you get hot food delivered, which you're never guaranteed, and it's the exception rather than the rule. That's great if you actually know about it and you can be on social media and you've got a charged phone and different things. And that's great if you've got community spirit and somebody actually knocks your door and tells you. Okay? So all these things are reliant on things out with your control and the goodwill of other people to let you know about it. I don't think we should be relying on that, do you? I think you should be doing something about it ourselves. So the other thing is you want to do is set yourself up for the priority service if you've got vulnerable people. I'd went into this on earlier videos, so make sure you let your network distribution authority know, DNO, if you have vulnerable people in the house that need medical equipment that needs power, they will make provision or they'll put you in a priority list and they will attempt to get to you. Now, if you've got a lot of snow and there's storms and wind and rain, they may not be able to get to you with the best will in the world. So again, you might need to make provision for you. You and your family, you make provision. Don't rely on others. Okay? The other thing is, if you're disconnected for 12 hours, 24 hours, and you keep the receipts, you can claim £30 per person in a power cut. And I'll post some pictures up of some information on it. So there's things that you're entitled to, things that you should be registering for. But the key takeaway from this is that we're getting mixed messages from the DNO, from NESO. I'm confusing bungling state operators here. We're getting mixed messages from them about winter. On one hand, sunshine and lollipops. The next thing it's, we might have some problems. Well, which is it? And then take into account, they're also saying that last year they said everyone was going to be fine with a surplus and we were in the poop. So, and take into account the ongoing conflict, the dragging anchors, problems in France's reactors, problems in Norway not wanting to give you any power. Take all this into account and you make a judgment call on what you think. And I would be interested to see in the comments what people think. Genuinely, let me know what you think. Is it something that you're worried about? Is it something that you should be worried about or we want to tell other people about? Did you have experiences with power cuts? How did you get through it? How did you were your experiences with the authorities and helping you out? If you got any help, I'd be delighted to know and share with everybody else what your experiences were. If you don't mind, like, share, subscribe, and see if we can get the channel growing. But as always, appreciate your time and take care. Bye-bye, folks.
Over at last. Like and subscribe, folks. Saves him moaning.
I'm prepared for anything, come rain or shine. From the city blackout